Next up and last up, we and just posted today was actually Emerald sent me the answers to these questions, gosh, a couple weeks ago, but I've just been so busy with work and stuff like that that I've been just kind of hammering it out, editing it, and getting it ready for a document for an article. And this is Emerald Nova's interview with us. She's on Saturn Development on the homebrew scene, talking about some of his previous projects. I'm gonna, I guess, start like where does the name come from? I guess it literally just came from trying to figure out a name that would work for all of his projects. And there was that was one of those things where I kind of wondered what's with the 7-point star. That's the thing that I was going to ask you about.
There's not really a good reason for it. It just it's a nice prime number.
It is.
I guess a lucky it comes up a lot in games. It's just it's like I guess it's probably like a subconscious thing. It's just there.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the bits, the Luma bits from Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally anything it could be. You guys are assigning a lot more thought to it than I ever did.
Okay, gotcha. Well, we like to give you guys an opportunity to let us know where your alter ego comes from, or where your like moniker comes from, but that's totally fine. It's a nice little logo that you made, and I really do like the 7-point star, because it's like a continuous, like if you draw it with a pencil or something like that, it's like a continuous. I don't know what you call that, but the points don't ever. It's almost like infinite,
It's
fractal.
It's
fractal.
It was unfortunate. It's not a fractal. It's just not geometrically convenient. I found that out. My mom wanted to make me a logo because she's an artist. I had already designed the logo, but she wanted to make me like a little banner or something for my streamer. So she ended up texting me one day. It's like, how do I do this? How do we put 7 points like equidistantly? Like a regular polygon. And it turns out there's not really a good way. I have a math degree. I'm open to being corrected, but I don't remember any part of my education covering specifically 7-point how to do things. You can do 6. You can obviously do 4. You can do circles. There's plenty of Greek geometrical tools to do that. 7 is just measure a little bit and hope that it comes out looking okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've ever drawn a 5-point star with like a pencil, doing like that, just in one stroke, or without lifting the pencil off the page, it's kind of like that. It's like this continuous design. I don't know why we're getting off on this, but anyway, I find it fascinating. And then of course you talked about your kind of how you got started into. So Emerald's a physicist. You work in laser physics, right? Is that correct? Yeah. So when we were talking about the satiator and we were talking about the mode, and you were definitely giving me a lot of insight into the whole CD system, or the CD block, and how much power that takes, and how a lot of people who are running ODEs on their system, that it can actually ruin. It takes a lot more power. It draws a lot more power than the CD assembly does, which is something I didn't.
That problem is a little bit overstated. I remember the conversation you're talking about. I don't want to say that yanking out the CD drive and running it with some nondescript load is definitely going to break your Saturn. I'm just under the assumption, based off of my experience, that if you're running it under different load, it's going to be running at a different a different voltage, or the same voltage but a different a current. So it's going to lead to different amounts of heating.
Right.
And if
And you're not the only one that I've heard recently talk about that. I have heard other people even give personal anecdotes about how they've fried their system using ODEs. So
on the other end, I've asked, I forget the name of the guy, but the USB GD-ROM guy for the Dreamcast. And I asked him, hey, do I need to solder an extra resistor on here because I pulled my I pulled my GD-ROM out? And he's like, no, I've been running these things for years. They run fine. Don't even bother. And so I feel like if you just install these things according to the instructions, I don't know that you should expect
Right.
these kinds of troubles.
Well, it's weird because the mode specifically does have an option to just run power off of the PCB. Just plug or having that extra little wire that's giving you the 5 volts. And so like I know with mine I was running an SSD and I didn't need it. That is for the short period of time that I was running a mode in my Saturn. But I mean, some folks are gonna experience needing it, especially if you're running like a moving hard drive, which I wouldn't recommend anyway for heat issues. But
oh, sweet! We can make clickbait videos saying how the ODEs will destroy your Saturn and have like a giant explosion as you plug it in.
well, that's another good case for like the Fenrir and the satiator. Satiator, obviously, because it just plugs into the VCD card slot, and I don't think it's drawing any more power that than I don't think it's drawing any more power than the Saturn would expect. And then the Fenrir really just which loads off of a SD card. I don't think really that's creating a whole lot of heat. Although there is that Wi-Fi module, and I'm not exactly sure what
I
the
wouldn't
heat.
be worried about Wi-Fi. I feel like a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth little thing would be such a small amount of power draw that I wouldn't be concerned with it. The only thing I was really concerned with is a full-size SSD. That made me a little bit nervous, but I don't know enough about the power draw on the market of SSDs to say for certain.
Right.
In all honesty, I think you should be more worried about HDDs since those draw a ton of more power than SSDs will ever draw.
Yeah,
and people used to put HDDs on their Dreamcasts, and they still worked, so it can't be that bad. Although I don't think
I've been running my SSD on my Dreamcast. Been running like a champ.
Well, it's like
I have USB, so yeah, obviously.
I mean, I run an HDD in my PlayStation 2, but then again, it's designed for that. It was expecting an actual moving hard drive in there. Where it's true that the Dreamcast isn't really expecting a moving hard drive in there. So I use an SSD in the Dreamcast, and that works great. Doesn't create any extra heat. But yeah. Anyway, moving on in your interview, because we want to actually talk about the questions you answered. So Cash Boa kind of started on that. That was a Windows and Android game where you are a boa constrictor on Wall Street. That is an awesome idea for a game.
Cash different.
Sorry?
It's a boa constrictor. It's
but right.
endemic.
This is correct. This is it actually even says that boa constrictor. Okay. And
is that what I think it means?
It's literally just it's a snake clone with a different mechanic on it.
Right.
Instead of swallowing the prey, you have to squeeze the whatever you're trying to swallow out of someone by surrounding them.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's the APK and the EXE are on the website. If you want to try it out just to see what it's like, I promise you it's not spyware, even though Android might warn you.
You're gonna have to sideload it.
That's not what I'm concerned of. I'm just afraid of when I'm squeezing out of somebody.
Oh, okay.
With the name Castrictor, that's giving me some pretty bad vibes.
Okay. All
You're
right.
thinking of a castrator. That's a
Oh, fair enough.
So again, you've had a bit of hand holding from Pona and XL2 just for getting. Why did you decide? Okay, so I mean, I know the answer. You wrote it, but like, tell everybody, why did you, considering the fact that you are admittedly not like a huge Saturn gamer, right? You love a good challenge, and you just felt like there was a void that needed to be filled in terms of like software on Saturn, and it seemed like a good challenge.
That's all post hoc rationalization. The primary reason is that I wanted to dev on a Sega console, and I cannot make art good enough for the Dreamcast. Okay. So, like, surprisingly enough, the Saturn was the easiest option for me to get into, and everything else is just me saying, okay, now that I'm here, all these justifications. Gotcha.
So you got into Saturn Development, and your role, I would say, I don't think it's unfair to say that your role primarily has been like an administrator, an organizer, someone who is kind of seeking to organize the community into some kind of into some kind of semblance that you know, where people are on the same page and projects are being pushed forward, and hopefully you know, the desire is to reach out and get more people interested.
So yeah, definitely community organizer is the word I would use there.
Okay.
Before the Sadiator came out, I was a top tier patron there to make sure that came out, because at the time that I started, it was the only option that wasn't GDMU. You know.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense.
That was some good times though. I remember there was when we first started. It's like it was. I think that was the first thing that was announced when we started. That is the Satiator project.
Mm-hmm. But your bread and butter are RPGs primarily. You mentioned Xenosaga, Final Fantasy, Vagrant Story. You mentioned the Nier games, you know, like Drakengard. So how does that lead into something like Seniryu, for example?
So, holy crap! So you asked me about Seniryu, and we're running out of time. So
Seniryu,
I gotta compress the crap out of this. So the setting for Seniryu, honestly, has been under so much evolution that the start of it and the end of it don't even look like each other. It was originally the story. So every game I have planned has like some sort of theme built around it. The original version of that game wasn't called Seniryu, and it was about more or less following a boy around as he grew up, in basically like in a JRPG style. Mm-hmm. So like my first thought in my head was like Grandia 2 style combat and controls and stuff like that. And the thing is, that setting evolved from like this you know, standard sword and sorcery setting with high magic into the sci-fi setting that Scenario 1 is in. And you know, after a certain point, I said, okay, I need this game to come out good, so I can't do this game yet. I have to do the prequel first. And working on the prequel, after that point, I started on the Saturn. Mm-hmm. So like these plans have been in place for over a decade.
Right.
Yeah. So like the first game is basically about marriage. The second game is going to be about watching a boy grow up, and there's going to be some psychology mechanics I have planned for that I'm not ready to talk about yet. Mm-hmm. Third game should be about death, but I have even fewer details to talk about there. And the fourth game should be essentially an afterlife. This is all going to be, I'm going to try and make it as thematic as possible. I'm focused on the first one in that I'm focused on any of them because I'm obviously working on a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's basically, the scenario 1 is going to be a dating sim. That's also basically a Daggerfall clone.
Oh, okay.
Interesting mechanic. So does that mean we get to get our NPCs to like kill a bunch of people and get another NPC and kill that NPC?
I'm not trying to make School Days or whatever you're trying to reference there.
Right.
It's
I'm referencing Skyrim.
Skyrim. Oh, okay. I went way darker than I needed to on that one. That was too deep of a cut. No, so it's basically like you're going to be stuck with the princess of the Vislan Empire for the entirety of the game. You're going to be from the Raelian Empire, and you've both been instructed, hey, this marriage has to go through, make it work. So the entire, like, you're going to be basically going places, doing things as if you were playing Morrowind or Daggerfall or whatever, but at the end of it, you have to have this conversation with this woman that you basically just met, and you just have to build a relationship out of it. There's going to be a lot of writing that I haven't started on.
It sounds like you have your work cut out for you. That all sounds very ambitious, but yeah, I'm sure I'm sure given enough time, you'll make it happen.
Are you be able to date Khajiits in that?
These could easily take another decade just to see the first game out. But once the first game's out, I imagine I'm just going to keep reusing resources until all four are out.
Right.
Well, cool. You know me dating sims, so I'll be down to play it.
Pat'll be down. Well, so
just
yeah,
add some Khajiit romance options, and we're good.
So real quick recap: we talked about Cash Boa. You had Forsaken Plain, which was like a D&D, homebrew.
It's just a 3.5 homebrew that I just spun into the scenario setting.
Exactly.
I don't want to spoil too much because I'm actually planning on working on Forsaken Plain in the near future, like sometime next year. And that's connected with Waterfuel and Hitomi's work on the Netlink, which I think we can talk about the Netlink when we start the actual game stream a little bit, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, we
could. There's a whole bunch going on there I'm really not even doing anything. I'm just trying to organize and suggest and facilitate as much as possible. But I'm useless as far as that goes until it's time for me to make netcode.
Cool. Well, I will wholeheartedly recommend that folks, if you're into game development, if you're interested in the nitty-gritty technical stuff, you can go back and listen to Emerald talk a lot on this stream about Ryu in more detail, like as we walk through the environment. Read this article, check it out. He goes into a lot of detail, thoughts and opinions on the homebrew scene. It's an insightful article, which you mostly wrote. You did most of the work for me, Emerald. So really, I thank you for your time and consideration on this, and I hope that people will check it out and read it, just so that they can get a little bit of an inside view into your thought process and how you go about designing games and what your core philosophies are, core focuses are in terms of what you look for in game development.